Okay, welcome to Bitrix Live. I'm Damien Edwards, Commercial Manager at Bitrix24 Partners Interface. We're based in the UK and we have offices in, as you can see on the screen there, offices in the US, New York and Dubai. And with me I have our support manager, Andy Naylor.
Yeah, hi guys. So we're going to be live for the next hour on YouTube here. So if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the box on live. And if you have any questions throughout the week, we're going to do this. We do this every week at 10 AM Eastern time. If you've got any questions throughout the week, then we can answer them, to send them to live@intraface.com, or you can post them to our Twitter account at Intraface as well.
Yeah, okay, we've had some questions in the week. Let's kick off with first one. We are heavily involved in projects and using work groups. Is there a way to preset tasks? So let's have a look at this. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. We've got open here a cloud account and an on-premise version of Bitrix. They both essentially look the same from the front end. The on-premise has some additional features, so we'll be switching between the two. Let's have a look on the on-premise version for this question. Is there a way we can preset tasks? So if we go into the tasks section within here, it is possible to create task templates. So new task using templates. So we already have some task templates created. I can create a task from one of these templates. If I want to preset or create a new template, then if I click into all templates, I can add another template. In fact, we can edit these existing templates here, or I can add a new one over here. So we've got quite a few in here. Let's just click on edit and we'll have a look at what this task looks like. So there's not a lot of content in this one, but your task might have some description. I guess the sort of things that you want to add into a template would be things like deadlines, or things like who's going to be responsible for that task, whether the task has any dependencies, maybe which project or work group that task is filled. And then you could pre-populate any custom fields that you created for that task. So that's the first way to preset tasks. There is another way of doing this, which is a little more complicated but might work better for you depending on exactly what you want to do. If we go into the CRM, we can do this with a business process. So it can be done from a contact or a company in the CRM. It could be done from the activity stream as well, but we'll do it from a company in the CRM. Let's go into companies and let's go into one of our companies. When you're in a company record, top right hand corner, you can access the business processes that are available for that particular company. What we're going to do is create a process that generates a task, and we're going to pre-populate that task with some information. Close that down for a second. If you go into CRM more and into or settings, anywhere your settings is usually in the more section. Ours is up here on the top. If we go into settings, open that up on a new tab, and if we go into automation and into business processes, and we're going to do this on a company, so go to company and click templates. We can see the processes that are already available. We haven't got one that creates tasks, I don't think, so let's add a template. Got create project, let's add a new one. So the question is, we're heavily involved in projects and using work groups. It's a way to preset tasks. So yeah, I mean,
I would probably use the create a project. So then you can create a work group and
let's do that. Go back to template. So we already have one for create project. Okay. So this business process I just noticed you say you're using work groups, so tasks can sit on their own or tasks can sit inside a work group itself. So this process here we've got pre-built will actually create, in this action block here, will actually create the work group. Does some things here to check whether the work group already exists or not, and then it creates a couple of tasks down here. So this is the key thing. So we can pre-populate these tasks with information we need to. First thing we've done is given the task a name. We have given it a responsible person. If you want to add some participants, we can do this as well. Insert this person, insert this person, and we can give it a description text in here. Save that. We can do the same with this additional task. If we want to add in extra tasks, we can do that as well. So I'm not going to go through how we've set this whole process up, but essentially it works by the first action block. I'll run through it so you can see how it works, but the first action block requests approval for this new project. If it's rejected, then the process runs down this right hand side and then it will come to an end here. If it's approved by the specified approver, let's just see who that is if we open that up. So the specified approvers are here. We're logged in as this user John Smith, so I'll actually be able to approve this process myself for the purposes of this demonstration. If it's approved, uses this PHP action block which creates a work group. So a bit of custom code. We can actually use a standard block now, can't we? I think. Let's have a look. Create work group. Okay, so we actually have a standard action block which will create a work group. Let's remove that for now because we've got a custom one. But you can use that standard block. It means that this process can be run on any cloud account or any self-hosted account.
Yeah, if you just leave that in for the moment, and then when we get down to the tasks, I usually get a common question about how you can actually assign tasks to the same work group that you're creating in the process. So this block here, this create new work group from the other section, is available on the cloud, it's available on the self-hosted. So if you want to manually trigger a process that's going to create this work group, we can actually assign the tasks here that we're creating to that particular work group.
To show us what we do.
Yeah, so as Damien just said, it's going to create the work group, it's going to flow down, and then what we can do here, so let's say if we wanted to assign this particular task to that work group, if we go to the social network group here.
So social network group is a work group. The terminology is slightly different, isn't it? But it's a work group. And I think if we go into there, you can select from a pre-created work group, but it would add it to that work group every time. We don't want to do that, do we?
No. So what we're doing in this process, we're going to create the work group and we want to assign it to that particular work group. So we click on the three dots, and then if we click on additional results here, we can actually find, you can see here we've got create new work group, which is the action block that was further up in the process. And we just need to click on group ID. And if you do that, then it's going to automatically put that ID in here. So when this task gets created, it's automatically going to assign to that.
So that's pretty critical. So the process we're doing, you're going to create a work group and then create a series of tasks. Those tasks need to sit in the work group, otherwise they'll just sit outside on their own. So should we take this out?
Yeah, we're not going to
cancel that. I'll cancel that and I'll take this out for now because we've got this custom blocking, but that's how you would do it using the standard action blocks. So we're going to create the work group here. We're going to create a couple of tasks here. Let's apply that process so it's saved, and let's go back into our example company here. So as we said, top right we have our business processes. Business processes, just to click back into there, just so we know, business processes can be run manually, or if you go to the template parameters of a process, you can select that they're run either when the item is added new. In this case, the item we're running this on is a company record, so when a company record is first created, the process can run, or when a company record's changed. So that means when any field within the company record is updated, this process can automatically run. In this example, we want the option just to run this for a user, just to run this manually. So I'll unselect those items and come out of that window. So back into the company record, in the list of processes we have available to run, this is the one we looked at, create project. And it presents us with a form. So in fact I need to show you this. Let's just go back into the business process and into template parameters again. And if we go into our parameters tab now under here, we can see that we have some fields here. We have a description field, deadline, we have a manager field, which is a bind to user field, so this is going to ask us to select a user. And then we have a doc field, which is actually a file field, so it asks us to upload a file. So if you use these parameter fields, it will present you with a pop-up form when you trigger the process, which is exactly what we've got here. So it's requesting that we complete this information before we start the process. First one here is mandatory, because there's a little star over there. So we have to do this. We have to complete this while the other ones don't appear to be mandatory, but we can complete them with a deadline. We can select who's going to be the manager for this particular project, and if needed we can select some documents as well. Let's see if we've got some documents on our desktop there. Okay, so you could add any additional fields that you need in order to set the parameters of this work group. So what we've done is we've pre-populated some tasks, which was what was asked in the question, but we're also asking the user to populate some additional information before we go ahead and create this group. Let's click start, and if we scroll back up, we'll see in our workflows we didn't have a notification built into the process. You might want a notification, but we can see if we change the okay, so we've got an approval. This is the process which we have just triggered. It says approval required. This is the person that created it. These are the people that can approve it. And we saw that in the business process that this user, we're logged in as John Smith. In addition, this user, either user can approve this. And it's saying please approve and add estimate of time required. So we didn't look at that in detail, but what it's doing is ask us not only to approve it, but add some sort of estimate. And this figure we populate in this field can go on to be populated inside a task or somewhere in the work group. We can decline or we can delegate it, but we're going to approve this particular process. Again, if we wanted a notification at that point, we could populate that with a notification. Let's go back into the business process. Once it's been approved, which is this stage here, we wanted to add a notification. There's notification. We can add a notification in here. We would just populate that with who we need to notify. But at this stage, because we didn't have that in here, it will have created the group. We'll have gone into this section to create the group. Provided there's no errors, it will have created the tasks as well. So let's see if that's happened. We go into our work groups. We called it 888 project. Did we call it this one 888 project? Yes. So this is the project that we created.
I don't think it will have created it.
I don't think
we'll have created it because we've already created a project. If the group already existed, it's here, so you can see tech. I think this, in fact, this might be it. Let's just check. Yeah, this is it.
Okay.
So it's actually giving the company name as the project title and the company and the description as the 888 project.
Okay. So when we filled the form out, it was asked us for a description, so that's populated in there. We just go back into. No, I won't go back into there. But how we've named the group will be in the PHP section in here, and that will be bringing in the name of the group from the company name in the CRM. Let's just have a look at the tasks though, because this is what you wanted to know. Can we create preset tasks? Was it not created the tasks cylinder?
I don't think they're assigned to this particular. So they're not.
Oh, right, okay. So in the process, we need to assign them either to a group, or we need to do what Andy showed us in order to be able to assign it to the work group we've just created. But yeah, if we did the process that we looked with Andy showed us, those 3 tasks would have been populated inside here. Fortunately, that wasn't set up correctly. Same thing with the documents in the drive, but it has created the group. So it added me into the group. If you wanted to add additional people into the group, then you would go into your settings inside here, or your settings inside, where's create work group? Your settings inside create work group, and you choose all your individual members of the group, so we can select them like this. So it's probably better to use the standard work group action, create work group action block. I think the reason why we use PHP was because it creates it as an extranet work group. I think you can do that with this now. So there was a time when it couldn't create it as an extranet group. Could only create a standard work group. You can now do all that inside the standard action block.
Okay, so let's move on. We've got a question come through on YouTube just with regards to I don't want my employees can see client contact details, and also clients can't see the employee contact details. So I'm not 100% sure what you're referring to with that. It may be that you with regards to the CRM permissions. So Damien wants to show you just how you can restrict access to particular clients.
So you've got a couple of different things there. I don't want my employees to see client contact details, and that's a permission within the CRM. Also, clients can't see employees' contact details. So I guess you're suggesting there that you're inviting your clients in as an extranet user. You don't want them to see employees' contact details. That's a little bit more that's a little bit different. On the second one, are you suggesting you don't want them to be able to access details in the profile? So in a profile page, you'll normally have descriptions about their job and their contact information. If you want to restrict access to this profile page, then I think that would be custom. I think generally you can search for users in the system, and when I find a user, I'm freely able to access their profile page.
I think just with regards to the extranet side of things, if you invite a client into an extranet work group, they're only going to be able to see the people within that extranet work group. So that's the restriction. There's nothing else you can really do in terms of restricting access to this information on the profile page, unless you've got an on-premise version. But as standard on the cloud version, all you're going to be able to see, if you're seeing this XYZ core, they're only going to be able to see the details of those people that are within that work group. If you've got 100 employees, but only 7 are in their extranet work group, then they're only going to see the 7.
If I click through any of these, this user here we can see is an extranet user. There's a little icon over there to suggest they're an extranet user, but if I click through to any of these employees, I can see their contact information because I share, I have access to that because I'm a member of the same group. And that would be the same for an extranet user. If you were on the on-premise, you could do some custom permissions to restrict that if you wanted to do that. But to address the first question, I don't want my employees to see client contact information. Client contact information is stored in the CRM. Your extranet users cannot access the CRM, so clients can't see other clients' contact information, but employees can. So you'll need to restrict access to just those people that need to. If we open up employees tab in another tab, then you'll have a company structure. You'll need to create your company structure first, bearing in mind how permissions work within Bitrix. So what we can do is restrict access to CRM records to your own records only, so you can prevent anyone else seeing records that they're not responsible for, or you can restrict access by department. So if I'm in this UK sales department, then I can see CRM contact records from anybody else's CRM contact records in the same department. You can actually do it down departments as well, so I could see all my own departments and all departments that are below me but not above. So probably the best thing to do is to create different, if you're talking about sales, create different sales departments, name them separately here, so that you can you can create permissions based on individual departments. If we go into the CRM and go into settings, and if we go into permissions and then access permissions, you need to be an administrator to be able to access this area. Two things you need to do. First, you create a role, and then you assign a role to a user or an individual user or a department. We're going to use departments here. We've got a role called UK Sales. Let's just open that role up. Click on the edit button, and we can define by individual module within the CRM, contacts, companies, deals, etc. We can even define different permissions by different deal pipelines, as you can see here. These are all different pipelines. We can even define different permissions by the stages that are at in those pipelines. So let's say when we win a deal, you might want to have different permissions. You might want to lock down access to that particular deal. And then across the top, the different statuses of permission you've got. Read, add, update. You might want to restrict access to deleting and exporting, potentially exporting large amounts of CRM data. You might want to restrict access to that. So the role we're looking for is personal and department. So we've got that already for company and contact. Allows me to read all my own and all those who are in this responsible by people in the same department. If I want to change, like edit, I can also do that by personal and department.
So just to reiterate the point, because I have had a number of clients that get a little bit confused by this with regards to personal and department. So if you just go into the contacts section here, so you can see what it's referring to is each element of the CRM, so a contact or a company or a lead or a deal, has somebody that is responsible for it. So in this case, John Smith, the user who we're logged in, is responsible for Mike Black. So as Damien's just gone through there, what personal is referring to in this case is all the contacts that you as an individual are responsible for. And then when you bring into the department, the other members of your department, where Damien went into the company structure, is who they are responsible for in terms of the contacts. Mm-hmm. That's what it's referring to as in personal. It's just referring to the actual responsible person. The responsible
field, yeah, absolutely, yes. So we can set this personal and department. In this case, I'm going to allow to read I'm going to let anyone add companies and contacts, but I just want to restrict read and update. So if I don't have read, if I'm not responsible for this contact or I'm not sharing a department with somebody who is responsible for this contact, then I won't even be able to see this contact. So when I go back into our contacts list, I'll see a list of contacts, but I won't see other ones that are associated with somebody in a different department. So we save our...
Yeah, I think it's just to go back to this point, I think one of the most common elements of doing your permissions, I know the question was about not seeing contact details, but one of the most common is with regards to leads, because when leads come into your system, they're obviously going to be, you don't want to share those leads between your sales agents, or maybe you have different regional areas for your sales. It's the lead side of things that does become quite popular in terms of setting your permissions.
Yeah, or things like quotes or deals, as we said earlier. Might be actually when you've won a deal, you might want to then restrict that to maybe personal. So deals are available to view by anyone in the department. When they get won, they're then locked down to one user, so they can't be changed potentially. Maybe you change the responsible person of the deal to the sales manager, department manager, when the deal becomes won, and they can only then be changed, maybe not read, but updated, maybe only updated by that particular person. So we can create our role. Just go back without saving changes to that. We can create our role over here, and then we can assign that role to a department. So we've got it already here, UK Sales Department, all employees. So if I just click into here, show you what you do, go into your departments, find your department, UK sales, we've already got that one, that role specified, so it's not able to select again. Once we've selected it, we can give that department there a particular role, and that's the role we want to give them is the role that we've just created, UK sales. And that's it. Save it, and you're going to restrict who can see those companies and contacts of people just who are sharing the same department.
Yeah, and it's not just for departmental basis. We work with quite a lot of different clients that have maybe multiple companies. So this is if you have multiple companies, and say for example you have a number of employees in each company, you could actually split it up based on your company structure in terms of what you set up here for each company only to be able to see their own contacts, their own companies, their own leads and their own deals. So that's quite a popular use of this area too.
And also, I think the CRM has its own permission structure, so it's separate to sort of other permissions around tasks and work groups. They have their own permission structure. And if you have the on-premise, you have user groups as well in the control panel, so you can then get different level of access permissions. Now we've got a following question here. What does the extranet mean? Can extranet users see my CRM? So an extranet user is somebody who is usually external to your organisation, so they're usually your suppliers or customers or clients, and they have restricted access to the system. But if you have any package above, I think the standard Bitrix CRM package, any package above that, then you can invite extranet users into your system, and they have access to all the functionality of a work group. So the question is, can they see your CRM? They can't. So there is no way whatsoever that they can see CRM data within your system. They also can't see HR data as well. So obviously they wouldn't normally need to be able to request sort of leave and things like that and do purchase requests. So they can't see that sort of information. So restricted to work groups.
Yeah, it's the whole purpose of an extranet user is that you invite them into an extranet work group here, and then you can see that they will get access to every module in here, but it's solely related to this work group. They won't get access to anything else. And like we mentioned earlier, they'll only be able to communicate with the members in their work group.
So they get access to quite a lot of functionality, a very large chunk of the Bitrix platform. You can communicate with them in activity streams. You can chat with them using the chat messenger tool. You can share tasks with them, and they can collaborate with you on tasks. They can access the calendar of that work group. They can access documents in the drive, these discussion boards, etc., etc. So all the functionality of a work group is available to those extranet users, and to confirm, there's no cost for extranet users, so you can have an unlimited number of extranet users in your system.
Okay, so just move on to another question that we've had through, just with regards to the new Bitrix Sites module. So if I jump into our cloud system here, let me just close a couple of these tabs down. So so Bitrix has the new Sites module, and that allows you to create your own website. So if we just take a look at this site that we've created here, so it's a really powerful tool in Bitrix now, and it allows you to use a drag and drop facility to create your own multiple page websites, or you can create landing page websites. If you're fairly new to Bitrix, like I say, this was released probably within the last 4 or 5 months. And the question that we actually had is just about optimizing your site. So obviously you need to build a website and then optimize it for search engines. So if we were to just click into this site here, so let's click into one we've created previously, and you can create multiple page websites, like I say. So we've got the home page here, and then we've got a contact page.
So this would depend on the package you have, isn't it? I think so. You can create. I think on the free package you can create one.
You can create one site. Yes,
one
you can create
site.
multiple page sites. You can create one site,
okay.
but you can have multiple pages within that site.
Okay.
So this is an example of one site, and all you would need to do for the optimization side of things, you obviously need to focus on the content on your pages, but that's down to you, if you wanted to add new meta titles and meta descriptions and meta tags, then for each individual page, you just need to click on Actions, click on Edit Settings, and then if you click on the More, so this is only solely for the home page, click on More, and then here, if you just, usually this is, by default, it's deselected. If you click on it to select, you can give it a title, so search engines are going to pick up on this. You can give it a description, so you can see what it's going to actually look like on Google on here, and then you can give it some keywords as well.
So these the words in the title are pretty key, I think, for SEO. I'm not an SEO expert, but those words are picked up, I believe, more so than keywords, really. I think. I think it's these which you need to get right. So you need to get the balance between a description, a title that people are going to want to click on, and also a title that includes the keywords that Google's going to use to index your page.
Yeah, certainly. And like I say, this is the home page, and then you would go into each individual page that you've created, click on Edit Settings again, and then you can go into here and then make it specifically for this page. So this is the starting point of your optimization. Like I say, we're not SEO experts. You would then obviously need to add the keywords to the content within the page and your title tags and everything like that. So it's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's just go show you our contact details. So as we mentioned at the beginning, we are partners of Bitrix24. Our business is Intraface. We're based in the UK. We have offices in the US and Dubai. So we manage pre-sale support, which means we can provide a demo and advise you on the additions of Bitrix. We can then do implementation, so including customization and training for your teams, particularly your admin teams, how to run the system. We provide ongoing support, so full implementation package. So get in touch with us if you've got afterwards if you've got any other questions. Let's see if we've got any more questions on here. How easy is it to integrate Bitrix into my current finance system? You don't say which finance system you have, so that really is key. So if we go into applications within Bitrix, then we have a marketplace which has pre-built integration. We go into accounting, then we can see that there's integration with FreshBooks and QuickBooks, Xero as well. So if you're using one of these systems, then you can use these applications. They're third-party applications. They're generally free, but I think if you want the advanced features, then you would probably be paying these people for them. There won't be a low cost. So how easy it is easy if the integration is pre-built. There's other ways to do integration, sort of lightweight integration. You can use webhooks. You can use kind of emails that will be received by another system and generate things in another system. If you want proper integration, API integration, then you need an app, or you would need to develop that integration. And to develop the integration, you'd really need a self-hosted version. So if you're using something like Sage, big in the UK, there isn't integration available yet, but that's something we've worked with as partners, so we can integrate. We can do that for you. We've done it before, so that would be relatively straightforward. What we need to know from you is what you want the integration to do. So integration isn't just integration, it's what you want it to do. Normally, I think with a finance package, you normally want the invoices integrating. So if we go into here, normally you'd want, when an invoice is generated in your finance package, let's say, you'd want to be able to see that invoice then inside Bitrix, and you'd want that invoice to be associated with the right contact or company within the CRM. You might want to bring in, so that'd be one thing. Do you want to then bring in the actual value? Do you want, excuse me, do you want to be able to bring in the actual products? Do you want to, if you're bringing in products, you're going to want to then integrate the products from your Sage or your finance package to the products within Bitrix. So when you change a product in Sage, you change it in Bitrix, you might want to do a one-way you might want to integrate it two ways so that you can update products in Bitrix and they update in Sage. Do you want to integrate things like due dates and dispatch dates and things like that? So each time you integrate additional fields within something, that's an extra process essentially. So really we need to know what is it you want it to do, what do you want to see inside Bitrix that you're syncing from your accounts package. It's all fairly straightforward, especially when you're using something that we worked with before. So yeah, how easy? The question is, how easy is it? It depends which package you're using, but if you get in touch with us or a partner, we can do that for you.
Okay, I had a question come through YouTube. You've asked a couple of times, is there anyone answering these? We do have a few that's come in before you, so we're trying to get them all done just in order. So we'll definitely, if you put your question into the box on here, we'll definitely get them answered today. It's just with regards, you've asked with regards to adding types of absence into HR. Now, I think you are pretty much restricted in the cloud version of Bitrix into the types of absence that you've got. So you can see here that we have set absence types, and you can see these are the ones that we're currently fixed with. So yeah, so you can turn these off, you can turn these types off, and you'll be able to display the different ones within here. And then just to go in, when somebody submits leave, then you can obviously, for those of you that are using the HR module, if you click into workflows and activity stream, then you can do it via this method here. So yeah, you are currently restricted to the types of leave that are on the absence calendar at the moment.
Okay, so that would be different if you had on-premise. You could customize that, I guess. Yeah. Okay,
so I just wanted to just touch upon that because I know you wanted the answer to that question. With regards to what Denny was talking about with the invoice and finance package integration, that just leads us on to a question that we had with regards to setting templates and things like that. So we had a question that came in just with regards to how can we set up the quote templates and the invoice templates to match their company branding, because obviously it's an important rule that Bitrix needs to provide. So if we just go into quotes in here, just an example, and click into a quote, then what Bitrix has now provided, it's provided a really powerful template editor tool, and you can see in the document tab here, we just click into document and then just click on add new templates. So these are the ones that Bitrix comes with. They are quite plain, but what Bitrix have allowed you to do is design your template, so whether it's a quote template or an invoice template, using a doc file, so a Word file. And with that, you can pretty much style it however you want, so you can use the branding and you can use your own company branding and set it out how you want. Now, they've also provided a really easy to bind to particular fields in the quote section. So let's say, for example, if I click on the gear icon here, click on fields, then you can see all the fields that I have available in the quotes. So in your Word document, all you would need to do is click on copy inside Bitrix and then paste it into the location on your Word document that you would want to, in the location that you would want to have it. So you can do that for quotes, invoices, but what Bitrix have also provided the ability to do is create additional templates. So for example, purchase orders are obviously required, and it wasn't a feature that was available in Bitrix, but now with these documents you can create purchase order templates and use the information being pulled from a quote, for example. Mm-hmm. So you can create multiple. You can see here we've got packing sheets, and there's plenty more you can do. We've seen clients of ours that have built project proposals, so you can have a proposal document in here and pull in contact information, company information, and product information.
Yeah, so those documents don't need to look like quote templates. They can be quite long proposal documents if you wanted that, and they could pull in quantities or blocks of text from fields, maybe custom fields that you have in quotes. If you want a quote, but you don't want it to look like a quote, you want it to look like a presentation, then you could create that using one of those template documents. Can you give me some examples of when and or how triggers or workflows work? For example, would you set up one or two? Well, so whether you set up one or two, I guess, would depend, but give me some examples about how triggers work. Let's look in this. Let's look in leads, automation within leads. So if you go into a lead, and if you have permission, you will have access to automation. In fact, I think everyone sees this, but they don't have access to the configure automation rules for obvious reasons. So you would see this, which actions have been triggered, but you wouldn't be able to edit that. Should we see if we've got a different? No, let's go into here. So your question is examples of when or how triggers work. So just to explain how this works, a lead has a series of stages. You can see these are quite custom specific. PA welcome call, claims call. So these are quite named quite specifically. You can rename the stages of your lead. You can have as many or as few as you want. There's probably a limit on the maximum you can have, but you can have a certain quite a large number. These different stages in the automation page are replicated down here, and below each stage you have triggers and rules. So if we start with rules, so rules are the things that are actioned when a stage is, a lead is at a particular stage in this case. So let's have a look at what rules we've got. We've got quite a lot of, we'll take some of these out to clear this up so we can just see a little bit clearly. So we have site survey, so we want to add some rules in at this stage. So the options we've got, quite a lot. Now we can post a message into the activity stream, we can change the status of this lead, we can have a control in, so what this does is it will, I'll just open this up, we can set for days, so we can set control to trigger after a period of time. So when the lead achieves this particular stage, it will wait 5 days, and then the control can notify a supervisor. So this purpose of this action block is to make sure that leads don't stick at a particular stage, so that somebody's been informed of that if it is sticking. Do a lot of things. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can send an email, schedule a call would be a popular one, schedule a meeting, send a text message, create a task. We can also do things like do robocalls, automated voice calls. You can now also target adverts on Facebook and Google here. So this will use the email address and telephone number that you have associated with the lead. If it can find a user on Facebook or Google that has the same email address and telephone number, you can target adverts at that particular person. And then you can do a whole load of other stuff using some marketplace apps or web hooks. So these are the rules or the actions that are triggered based on the stage of a lead. Triggers on the other side. So a stage can be updated manually. If we do it like this, we can change the stage manually. But we can use external triggers to change the stage of a lead as well. So an incoming email. So if an email comes into the system and the sender's address matches the email address on the lead, we don't have an email address on this one, but if we have an email, if you're capturing email addresses on a lead and the sender's address matches that, this will automatically update the stage of the lead to this one here. Incoming calls, same sort of thing. We're not spoke about telephony today, but if the incoming call is from a number that matches the lead on the number on the deal or the lead, it will update the stage. Form submission is quite good. I think as part of your sales process, you might early on you might send out an email, and it might link in the text here to a form that you've built in Bitrix. So Bitrix includes a tool to build your own forms. It might link to a form. When that's form completed, you might want it to update to this stage. So we could have form submission as a trigger, so we can see when that form's the request for that form has been completed, and we can update the stage. I think some other ones, but we'll not.
I think one of the more powerful aspects of this, especially with the CRM marketing that Bitrix has now, is that you can, and we do have a question coming up in a moment just about the CRM marketing, but you can target a group of leads from your system. So you can bulk market email, maybe a section of your particular leads, and within that email you could have a particular link within it. So let's just say it says email link here, clicked. So we could say in this case it was, I don't know, let's just say it was a landing page, an email link that said directed you to a landing page. As soon as that was clicked, then you would know, because the email campaign had sent it to this particular address, they would know to automatically move this particular process. They were interested in whatever offer that you were sending. So it's a good integration between the marketing and the automation triggers that you can include.
Yeah, so you can do automation on leads and deals. Just to finish off on this, if you go into the CRM, and we go into more, and we go into our settings, and you go into the automation tab here, then you can. Screen settings are going funny. You can run automation on leads and deals here. You can also create business processes on leads and deals, as well as running business process and companies and contacts. So a business process really can do the same thing as as automation. I think automation probably is a little bit simpler to set up. Some additional things you can do on a business process. So if we go into, we looked in these earlier. Let's just go back into, we haven't got as many templates set up here, but we looked at these earlier. I don't know what we've got in here, but essentially a business process looks like this. It's a flow. You have different conditions and approvals that define the direction of the flow the workflow takes. So there's probably a little bit more you can do in this, but actually there's some bits on the trigger side. There's some bits you can do in automation which you probably can't do quite the same in business processes. Is there a limit to the amount of companies contacts I can have on the CRM? And then is there a limit to the amount of custom fields I can create? So there's no limit to the amount of companies or contacts you can create. So I think some CRM providers charge by by number of contacts that are created. Bitrix doesn't charge in that way. Bitrix charges essentially by user, but on the professional package you get unlimited numbers of users. Your then only restriction really is whether you want the additional functionality available. If you're on the professional package, the only restriction really is if you want additional functionality available on the self-hosted. That will be the next step up, but there's no restriction on numbers of users. I think even on the free package there's no restriction. The only restriction on the free package is actually the space that you can use, the server space, and you would be able to create a very, very large number of records in the CRM before you use that space up. Is there a limit on the amount of custom fields I can create? So there's not a limit. We'll just have a quick look at custom fields. So if we go into the settings again, and if we go into form and reports, and then custom fields, go to companies. In this example, we're going to see the fields. We've got quite a lot of custom fields already created here. You can add any number of additional custom fields. So it's quite usual in the CRM that you'll want to create your own fields in addition to the standard fields like description, telephone number, email address that you already have inside there. Sort of fields that you can create, quite a lot of different fields. You might just want a string of text. We have things like checkboxes, yes and no checkboxes. you want date fields, you can link money fields if you want to specify in CRM sort of value for this proposition. Can link a Google map now, so if we use this field and you populate the field with a postcode, when you hover over that postcode it'll pop up a map instantly for you. List, so that would be a drop down of items you can select from. Create custom fields that bind to a file, so allow you to upload a file. Bind to a user, so that would mean, like responsible that we looked at earlier, the responsible person for a company is bound to a user in the system. You can create an additional field, a custom field that binds to a user, so you might want a second responsible person. And you can bind to other CRM elements, so you can bind this field to a contact or a deal or a lead element from the CRM. So you can create any number, you can make them required, mandatory fields or non-mandatory fields. That would mean that you can't save the record when you're creating it if it's not populated.
Okay, so I had a question come through saying, so an automated email can be sent to a lead at the completion of a phone call or another task that is complete. And that just touched upon the new feature that's come out in Bitrix very recently, the start of October it was released. So just with regards to tasks, so tasks now have automation rules that you can run on them. Not going to go too much into depth in this, but you just mentioned with regards to a task completing, we could send an email. So let's say, for example, our automation process in the CRM creates a task for the sales agent to fill in some details or something. So we now have this button here that you can see on tasks called automation rules. If we click on this, then at the moment this is looking at my planner, so everybody in Bitrix has their own plan. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to look at the statuses, because you mentioned about the tasks being completed. So what you could actually do is pretty much like Damien showed you on the CRM. If I say configure these automation rules on when a task has been marked as completed, then I can actually send an email to the client, for example, to tell them that their task has been completed. I can send an internal notification, and I can create another task if I wanted to, or we could delete it. So this automation rule has now come in, like I say, into the cloud version of Bitrix. I don't think it's available as of yet in the on-premise, but it will be released very, very soon. And it's not only the statuses that you can do. I mean, one of the more powerful aspects with project work groups, so for those of you that have been using Bitrix as a project management tool, you can now have, so let's just say, for example, we go into one of our project work groups. We have a set number of stages that are unique to this particular project, and we can have automation rules based on this particular project. So we can, when we move a particular task into the next stage of the project, we can have something actioned on this. So it is brand new, and I recommend testing it out inside Bitrix. But it, like I say, it's brand new. It's going to be growing, and some of these actions are going to be more. I think related to the CRM. I think as well. I
think they will, because if you look at the CRM automation, there's a lot more than there was when it was first launched. So we've got these available now. Send email, make notification, create additional tasks, and things like that. So.
Yeah, and you still have, I mean, again, you still have the webhooks, so you can integrate with third-party applications on tasks now. So again, that was a big request throughout for the past few years. So it's definitely going to be a powerful tool. So I recommend testing that out.
Okay, we get, this is a common question we get, can I disable clock in and clock out feature? So this appears here, and we're disabled as it stands on this site. So if I think by default the clock in and clock out feature is enabled, which would mean that users see a notification or warning over here, it flashes green to say that they need to clock in. If they forget to clock out,
so I think you need to go on the on-premise version on this one.
If they forget to clock out at the end of the day, if your parameters are set that they need to clock out by a certain time in the day, then it'll go red. Go into time and reports, and okay, so you'll see we don't have any data in here, I don't think, because we've disabled the feature. But if you're using this feature, then you will see against each of these dates and users down the left hand side, you'll see the amount of time that they spent inside, clocked inside into the system. If you want to, if you're an admin, you have access to the settings button over here. If I click on that, we're in as John Smith over here. There's John Smith. You can see that it's disabled. If I turn it on, then you can see I have these parameters. So the latest clock in time is 8 AM, earliest clock out time is 8 PM, and yeah, if I now save this, then it will require me as a user to clock in. So you can see that that's done by individual. You can do it by department. Don't think you can do it company wide. I think you have to set up by individual departments. But yeah, it's quite easy to. The question is disabling it. So to disable it, go into each department and just turn off like this. I think it will not flash anymore.
I think with the clocking as well, I think another common question is with regards to having it on the mobile application. So it is available on the mobile. So if you download the Bitrix mobile application and log in, you can clock in and clock out using that. So it's really good for if you've got any external employees or somebody that goes on site, you can clock in and clock out.
Yeah, not external employees, i.e. extranet users,
yeah.
They can't access this, but you've got people around,
remote
workers, people working from home or people working from client sites. We did on for a client recently, a client that has consultants that works on site at their clients' locations. We did something that integrated the IP address using the phone where they clocked in, they could register the IP address of that client's site, and so the management knew not only when they clocked in and out, actually where they were as well. So that helped them sort of manage their billing and things like that. So that was with on-premise, but there's quite a lot you can do on the cloud. There's some additional things you can do with the on-premise version.
Yeah, I think that's with regards to questions. I think that we're probably running out of time now. So I think just to reiterate, we are Intraface. We're a gold partner of Bitrix. And we're going to do these sessions. We've been doing these sessions for a number of months now, and we do them every Thursday at 10 AM Eastern Time. And it's just a place, if you have been using it, if you have been using Bitrix and you just have any question, we can clearly show you on the screen to help you out in any way. You can see our details are on the screen at the moment. We have an office in the US, the UK, and the UAE. And please just use contact details if you've got any questions with regards to Bitrix. If you need a personalised demonstration of how it can help your business, again, please get in touch. We can do one-on-one demonstrations online. For that.
In addition, we have webinars at 11 AM Eastern Time on every Monday. So they're on specific subjects. We do 7 different webinars rotating. You need to register for those. If you go to intraface.com/webinars, you can register for those webinars there. But Q&A is no requirement to register. So hopefully see you next time.
Yeah, so thank you very much for your time. And like I say, if you've got any questions for next week, drop us an email to live@Intraface and we can get those scheduled for next week. Thank you very much. See you next time.